Good evening, Facebook. Hopefully you guys are doing well. As you can see, I'm here with Natalie Bryan again each Monday evening at 6:30. I will be here with her and we'll discuss different things for you guys during the pandemic and during COVID-19. We were actually just kind of talking about our friends are on social distance, but that was just a whole nother random topic. But yeah, so Natalie, I know tonight we're going to discuss grief. So it's different types of griefs that is happening at this time, right? Different type of losses that are happening at this time. So as you come into the broadcast, make sure you give me some thumbs up or some hearts. Give me some hearts or some likes so I can know you can hear us just fine. Please go ahead and do that. I know we have one person that's looking right now. So give us some hearts or some likes so I can know you can hear us just fine. And then we'll get right into this conversation because we try to keep these lives about 30 minutes. Only I just went ahead and actually got out. It's been a long day. The schedule for this week. So we have you can see it's changing up a little bit, but the therapist will be on every week as people continue to deal with different things. So we can make sure you have the resources that you need. So Natalie, let's get right into this conversation.
Well, okay, so with COVID-19, we are dealing with levels of grief. We're dealing with grief where people are losing loved ones. We're dealing with grief where people are losing their jobs. They're losing their spouses. They are having the social distancing, so they're grieving that social interaction between them and their family members. So there are so many different levels of grief that people are facing right now. That's why you see the suicide rate spiking up. You're seeing anxiety spike up. You're seeing depression spike up. You're seeing some compulsivities spike up, such as overeating, such as online shopping all day, such as over exercising, such as, just a consistent overdoing of something because that is something the person has control of. So we were talking about anxiety last week and working through some of those issues. But this week, I really wanted to focus on grief because we have had within the United States, according to Johns Hopkins, but I think this data could be about 3 or 4 days old, we've had over 20,000 deaths already in the United States. And that number is increasing daily, and we were joking about people not wanting to social distance, but this is real. I know several people in New York State who had passed away this past week. So it is very real. People are dying, people are losing their loved ones. And on top of that, they're not even allowed to get their bodies right now. So people can't even grieve in their usual social way of, having a funeral service, having a repast, getting together, supporting each other physically and emotionally.
Did you cover your mic, Natalie? It's like you went low a little bit. Okay.
No. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. What'd you just do?
I don't know what I just did.
Okay. Now you sound back to the level you were before.
Okay, I don't know if I did anything,
okay,
but I will try to project a little more.
Okay.
So what I was saying is people are also, they're not allowed to get the bodies. They're not allowed to pick up their family member, to prepare them the way that they may traditionally prepare them, or in the circumstance that they're trying to prepare them. They can't have a funeral. And then on top of not being able to have a funeral in their traditional sense, there's no social repast for family members to get together and lean on one another in that time. So we are now looking at grief in this era of social distancing, which is, as everyone knows, online or over the phone, it's not the same as being with your loved one in person and interacting with them. So, what can we do? How can we cope with this? We're first and foremost, regardless of any level of grief, we know their stages, and there is no recipe. There is no standard stage of grieving. People can go from acceptance all the way back to denial, all the way forward. You know what I'm saying? So even with our stages of grief, there can still be fluctuation of where we are in that. So, what I wanted to do, firstly, for the people who don't know about the different stages of grief, Ronnie, do you know? Would you like me to go more in detail about the different
Yes,
stages?
please. Yes, well, we have your expertise. Please cover the different stages of grief.
Okay, so the different stages of grief, um, if we're going by Kubler-Ross, some people say there are seven. We learned about five, but regardless of whatever, they're here. So we're dealing with denial, of course. That's our initial onset. Um, then we're dealing with the pain and the anguish of the grief. Then, of
Okay.
course, we get upset. We start bargaining. We're ticked off. We want to know what could we have done different, and then we may start bargaining with God about if you do this, I'll do that. If you can give me this much time with my loved one or whatever. Then we may go through a depressive state. Um, then we take an upward turn and we're thinking like, okay, we can cope with this, and we start to work through it. And then we get to the acceptance and hope stage. Now that is the seven um, stages of grief. Most people have learned about the original five stages of grief by Elizabeth Ross. So in her five stages, it's just denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. Now, like I said, you don't have to go through the stages step by step. You
Okay.
can start off with anger, then go back to denial,
So
then
you
go.
can kind of go
Yeah, you could just,
ways.
you can be anywhere in there. And
Mhm.
you can even start progressing and think you've gotten to a place of acceptance and revert and go all the way back. Anyone who's lost someone knows that you're always trying to keep that person present or prevalent in things that you do traditionally, and you want to remember them. And sometimes, even in remembering them, it may trigger you going backwards instead of forward in your progression about grief. So, some of the things that we have been discussing or we've been reading up about and how to handle grief. First and foremost, I'm always a big proponent for feeling your feelings. You know, a lot of us, we don't accept the feelings that we are having at the moment. We don't even know how to identify them. A lot of times, when I'm having sessions with my clients, I present them with a feelings wheel because
Mhm.
the feelings wheel helps them to identify what feelings they really have that they may not have the language or the verbiage for, because we're used to dealing with like the five major: happy, sad, angry, whatever. But we're not talking about smaller feelings like disappointment or embarrassment or
Mhm.
poor things that we may forget while we're going through the emotions. But those are the true names of what we're feeling. And if we can't name what we're feeling, how do we say, hey, I'm hurting this way or this is going on with me? Because we don't have the language for it. So I do give out a feelings wheel. Ronic, if you want, I can send you a copy of that feelings wheel if you want to post it later
Yeah,
on.
sure. And then I can post it on my Facebook. But also, guys, I'm talking to Natalie Bryan, so we're talking about grief and how to handle it during the COVID-19 or during the pandemic. If you guys have any questions for Natalie, go ahead and drop them below. But as I look down, Natalie, I just want you to know I'm writing down your tips. So I wrote
Okay.
down your seven stages. I also wrote down your feelings. And I always think like I follow a lot of different countries, like news stations and stuff like that. Let's kind of start listening to other country stuff. In America, it's always like we kind of hide our feelings or kind of act like, in other cultures, I would say, they're more acceptance of like everybody like really going through certain processes, right? It's more talked about like life, you're born, but you also, you'll experience death. Like they kind of look at things so differently. So I think it's I'm happy that you said feeling your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we skip that step, right? A lot of times we don't want to show that we're feeling anything. We don't show that we're sad or we angry or we going through something because we just lost a loved one, we just lost our job, or we dealing with the stress of paying our bills or whatever it may be, because that is still grief if you lost something during the pandemic, right? It doesn't have to just be that of someone sick and that you lost somebody to death, but also those things are griefs, right? That your lifestyle change. Some people may just be missing the gym. I don't know. It could be different things, but you may be experiencing different levels of grief.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be. We are even grieving each other for social distancing. That's why we were saying our friends are not even respecting it because they're not.
I'm like, no, you can't come over.
Because it's like, hey, I just need, I just need some companionship. I need someone to talk to, and I mean, I know that it's difficult for us, but if you don't know if the person has it, it's best to be, take precautions. And like Cuomo has said, he said, just assume that everyone has it. And that way you will always use your precautions and you will always try to protect yourself. So feeling your feelings is major. And we don't take time to acknowledge our own feelings, which is why we start to have symptomology in our body from things like stress, having hypertension, having low blood sugar, having high blood sugar, having body aches and pains, stomach issues, bowel issues. That's because we don't allow our feelings to flow, and that affects our symptomatic and asymptomatic I'm here talking in my head. Our central nervous system, which it impacts how our brain, our cortisol, everything that has to do with our body functions when we are not allowing these feelings to flow through us. And that's why it's so important to not look at mental health as just a separate entity from health. Mental health is a part of your whole health, a part of you need to be whole mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually for your whole health, for you to be healthy. And a lot of times it's separated as if it's not as important as diabetes, as important as a heart condition, as important as, having surgery. It is just as important. And the reason why we know that is because if our mind is not in the right space, how do we cope and function as a productive human being? So working on allowing those feelings to flow, identifying them and allowing those feelings to flow and be able to acknowledge them, that's a major part of working through your grief. So you can acknowledge and accept those feelings, which, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you do need a lot more support, and we would recommend that if you feel like it's impacting your everyday daily life, that you find some support within the community, whether it's through a therapist, a counselor, a religious person, whomever you feel will be the best impactful for you in your life. Like I said before, grief is not a linear process. It doesn't go, hey, I'm going to step 1, then I'm going to step 2, then I'm going. It doesn't work that way. It can go any which direction. Grief is not something that you get over. And that's okay. Sometimes people want you to move on faster than you're ready to move on. Yes, we do want you to be a functioning person and be able to maintain your lifestyle, but there's no magic pill that's going to say, okay, grief time is over. It's still a process. You still have to go through it and acknowledge it and move through it, and it's okay if you get stuck. It's just to keep moving forward as best you can. And if you get stuck, like I said, there are professionals to help you with that whole trajectory of moving forward. So it's hard to have a support system in person now when we have social distancing, but we still have support systems. Call family, reach out to friends, have a group chat with your family. My cousins and my family and I, we have a group Facebook page that's just for the Worrells. So everything Worrell, if we want each other to know anything on there, we all just dump stuff in there so that the whole family can know what's going on. So if something's going on, reach out and say, hey, something's going on. I'm not feeling very great. Allow people to help you. Sometimes when we go through grief, we stick our head in the sand and we don't want to hear anyone. We don't want to see anyone. Allow people to help you through that time, and just allow them to hold your hand, even if it's through holding it via Zoom, holding it via FaceTime. Allow them to be there for you. This is a new dynamic for us in dealing with how we're facing grief at this time. The pandemic has caused just a new way. So reaching out to others is impactful. Reaching out to others can be a life or death situation, because so many times when people grieve, they feel like they can't move on or live on without this person. They may contemplate hurting themselves or harming others. So reaching out to someone saying that you're in distress is really important. Also, possibly having traditionally, my parents are West Indian. We call it a nine night. We have a time where we come together and we talk about the family. We talk about the family member. We have like a time of remembrance, and we have it socially. Right now, we only have online options or telephone options. Reach out, talk to someone, remember that person, tell stories about that person, and listen to how that person was, get a whole view of them. Because, sometimes when we look at Aunt Tisha or Uncle Benny, we only know our relationship with them, our dynamic, just that person. But you never know the dynamic between them and their parents, their siblings, their other nieces and nephews. So find comfort in hearing how they treated others, how others love them, what others had to say about them. So that's really important also.
Okay, so we got a couple of comments real quick, Natalie, and a question. So I'm sorry to hear that, Tiff, that you lost your father. Condolences to you, much prayers. She lost her father in January.
Okay.
And I have a friend, she lost her mom and her dad, but every anniversary is, something. But then even my great grandfather, he passed some years ago, but I still miss him. I still have some type of grief for him because he was just such a prominent figure in my life. So I still miss him. So yeah, like you said, everybody has grief differently and it doesn't go away. I'm happy that you said that. That it resonates definitely with me. I'm like, it doesn't go away. And then with my daughter's father, lost him as well, to murder. So those type of things really don't go away. They still affects you in some way, shape, or form. Mona Thomas asks, how do you just let it flow? I think people sometimes know what they need to do, but often get stuck at the how.
Yeah. So honestly, that is something personal. How you're feeling is something personal. I can't say, oh, if you hop on one foot and tap your head, it's gonna flow. But maybe something to help you facilitate feelings moving through you. Like for me, when I'm feeling a sort of way, gospel music helps me to cope and move emotions through me. And I can sit there, either cry, talk it out to God, or I can sit there and either get a resolution in my heart, and it just helps me. So maybe it's music, maybe it's reading, maybe it's talking to a loved one who knows that person a little bit better to help cope with those feelings, to help even say, hey, I totally understand where you are. Sometimes you just want someone to empathize with you and understand that this is a difficult time for you. But it's just allowing yourself to feel those feelings and say, okay, this is a normal part of life. We as a community, and I forget the author's name, but she wrote that book about the post-traumatic slave syndrome. We have just always been taught to grin and bear it. We've always been taught to kind of pick it up real fast, don't show feelings, don't show emotions, things like that. So we don't get the time to sit in it, to feel bad, to feel sad, to feel like, okay, I can't move forward or I'm struggling. So you can facilitate with music, you can facilitate with yoga, meditation, guided meditation or imagery. Those are some things that help you just to become one with self and hear and understand your feelings. You can also utilize journaling. There's so many different tools you can try to use to help you to get those emotions out and identify them and accept
Right. And then I think it's like the consistency, right? Because sometimes I think you feel like, oh, I'm over it,
them.
and you're not really, right? And then something triggers you,
Yes,
and you're back to like maybe in one of those different stages, right?
yes.
And it could be simple things. Somebody reminds you of that person, or somebody says something that triggers you to make you think about it. A holiday. When you see people celebrating and so forth,
Yeah.
and it could be different things that happen. So I really love that about you. A lot of people are on. Hi, everybody. I kind of wave to you guys and say hello, and then make sure you share out this broadcast, because even if you're not dealing with grief, it may be somebody in your timeline that is. And I want to be sure to come on during this month of April to give you guys different resources you can reach out to. Even if Natalie may not be a therapist that you may want to reach out to, she does definitely, people always network with who has their skill set. So she can definitely give you references to find different therapists in your area.
Yes.
So that's why it's always critical to share these out, because you never know who may be dealing with what at this time. So any other tips for everybody that's listening, anybody that joins us live later on? Anything else you want to say regarding grief?
Yeah, one of the things that's really hard for some people, especially right now, being that you don't get to participate in a funeral, you don't get to participate in a traditional repast, or things of that nature. Don't get caught up in the guilt of not being able to. We are in a circumstance that is beyond our control, and it's very new. You know what I'm saying? It's very novel. It's very new. This is a different way of living for us currently. You can't you can't be guilty about something you can't control, because you can't be there, you can't participate, you can't show up. Right now, the best thing you can do to stay healthy for yourself and for your immediate family is to stay away. But you can reach out other ways. Send a letter, send a card. If you want to, you can send a donation. If you want to, you can have a group chat where everybody can talk to each other and reminisce and spend time. Utilize the time to really say goodbye to the family member with your family, and try to spend time focusing on the positive things and not the negative things, because it's not going to change the circumstance, and it's going to continue to root itself and not get better for you, and it's going to drag the grieving process out a lot longer in a more harmful way than a positive way.
Wow. Okay, so Natalie, how can people reach you? Thank you guys for sharing out. I've seen a couple of people share it. If you come to the broadcast later on, make sure you share this out. But how can people reach you? Let people know a little bit about your background. It's the first time hearing from you. She will be on with us each Monday at 6:30 on April. I appreciate you. Thank you for doing this. I just try to figure out what other ways I can contribute during the quarantine, because there's things I'm doing on a personal level as well, and so forth. I don't really talk about everything I'm doing, but definitely doing things. But I also wanted to contribute in a different manner, as to make sure people have resources at their fingertips. They can be like, oh, I remember that, Natalie went live, or whoever went live, and, we can find a therapist if we need it. You don't know how long we'll be in quarantine. It's a lot of things that's happening from week to week from what I'm getting information on, and the contact and the calls that I'm getting. A lot of different things are changing or happening. It's like every week is something different. So as it progresses, and how we're shut down for weeks. So how can people reach out to you?
Well, they can find me. My website is www.restoringharmonycounseling.com. They also can call my practice, 762-585-4610. They can even Facebook me. I am not a person who's hard or difficult. I understand that people have needs. I'm not the only therapist in the CSRA. I'm glad to refer. You don't have to come directly to me. And just wanting everybody to know that this is a hard time for everyone. We are all being affected. I personally know 10 to 15 people that have passed within the last 3 weeks in New York. it has been difficult. So grief is not, I'm not just telling you something that I'm not walking out myself. And I know that it's difficult for a lot of people, but it is a part of life and the life that we are living today. And if you're really, really struggling, reach out to someone in the mental health community, touch base with them, get some support. I know some, like NAMI Augusta, I believe, maybe doing some grief support groups, and there are other agencies locally that are trying to help people in their time of need. And like we said, grief is not only the illness, the death, it's your job, it's your spouse, it's your children, it's your social interaction with your family. It's a difficult time for a lot of people. The most we can say is to be safe and to reach out if there's a need. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Natalie. I hope you have a good evening. I know you actually spent time with us on your day off today, so I really appreciate you. Let me make sure we didn't have any other comments. Give them ways to stay positive. Oh, Tiffany said, can you give some ways to stay positive?
Oh, absolutely.
That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. We can you know, I love the TikTok dance videos. I know we've done stuff with my sisters. It was my nephew's birthday yesterday. We did this whole group video thing for him to say happy birthday in New York. You know, just play music, get some meditation, do some yoga. Definitely talk to one another regularly, engage. I know in New York they're doing every 7 o'clock, I believe, every day at 7 o'clock, they applaud all the first responders. Everyone stop what they're doing. They applaud their first responders. You know, think about ways that you can contribute to locally to people who may be struggling business wise. You know, support some of the small businesses that are having a little bit of a harder time, but they're here in our community and we want to be a part and we want to support them through. Purchase some food, you know, cook some food, donate it to local charities and stuff that don't have it right now. So many people have lost their jobs. You know, find a foundation that may be assisting people that you can donate some funds to help people make it through this time because, you know, some people are not getting unemployment. They're working 1 day a week. They don't qualify. There's so many circumstances where we are being impacted as a community. So if it's just you yourself, find something within your community that's positive where you can be helpful even from a distance.
Yes, I agree. I was looking something up real quick. I don't know if everybody's aware of this because when you were talking about donation, and I know that people have been looking for volunteer opportunities and this and other, and that sometimes helps you dealing with different things as well. But we have in the CSRA, I think these boxes are still up. The blessing boxes. So I asked somebody to give me the locations of them, and these are just boxes that have items that you can drop off to, and then people can just go grab it when they need it. So the locations in Augusta, from what I understand, is the Lutheran Church, 825 Green Street, Lewis Memorial United Methodist, and Grovetown United Methodist Church. So from my understanding, those are the Augusta locations. I know that South Carolina has a lot of locations. So I'll drop these in the comments too, but we put it on the chamber page for people who were looking for other ways to donate. If you're not comfortable like going around to donate or to volunteer face to face, well then make sure you're going and dropping stuff in the blessing boxes so people can take it that need it. So that's another way to kind of donate.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with the basic, hey, how you doing check-in.
Right.
Hey, I missed your voice. I mean, the other day I did a drive-by to one of our local vendors. Hadn't seen her in a while. And I just said, you know what? I dropped off some stuff just to cheer her up and say, hey, I was at the door. Hi. And I did a drive-by because sometimes people just need to know that they're being thought about. So it's just thinking about somebody, and even if you just do a drive-by, you don't have to be in their face. You could just say, hey, I put something on your doorstep. I just missed your voice, you know, so we are still connecting, just a different way.
Right. And I think that's good because I didn't think about that. Like a lot of people I know have been texting and just checking on me. So like out the blue. And I'm just like, okay, so now that triggered me to like start doing it out the blue with my circle too, because I mean, I got texts from different people all across the country and I was just like, whoa. So I was like, okay, so yeah, just do that because that is also a positive and helps you stay positive and let people know that you're on their mind and they want to make sure you're good and your family's good or your household's good, is there anything that they can do? So just kind of keeping that sense of community, doing those group chats, listening to music, doing the TikTok dances. I know a lot of people kind of like over TikTok, but that's how a lot of people are releasing their steam. So it's really good. Honestly, really good for people to listen to music, listen to the DJs that's doing the live concerts. I haven't caught any live concerts, but I know that's helping a lot of people release, different things that help you stay positive. So
yes, even Broadway.
Reminder.
Yeah, I think Broadway is even doing. I think they were doing a Hamilton thing the other day. Botticelli did the Easter song. There's so many different things going on online for people. Comedians are doing shows. So, I mean, there's so many things. So, I mean, even though we are in a place of stillness, it doesn't mean that we're still not able to connect and experience the world and stuff. Oh, and the zoos are doing like live stream videos of the little baby animals and stuff like that. Just for smiling. So anything to bring a smile to your face. They have the little hippopotamus. I don't think she's a baby. I think she's 2 now. But I mean, we have so many different things going on right now that can be helpful. So just reach out to one another, continue to support one another, and understand that even though social distancing is our way right now, it doesn't change the stages of grief. It just changes how we interact with one another during this time.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you, Natalie. This was an awesome live as always. Again, you will catch Natalie next Monday at 6:30. I don't know what topic she's gonna have for us, but she'll let me know probably Sunday night, like she does, and it will go from there. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you stay safe. Make sure you catch me all this week again during a quarantine for this month. I'll definitely be going live with my friends tomorrow. I want to say it's Daphne Marie. So we'll do a little switch up. We'll do some styling. I can't remember what her topic is, either online shopping or something, price style or something in style. So something different. And then we'll have a boxer on actually that's going to do some exercise Friday. Active. So it's a lot of different things are going to be happening this month. So make sure you stay tuned for the lives. Natalie, thank you again. Make sure you text me your information so I can drop it in the comments.
Okay.
And everybody have a good evening and a great week. Thank you.